So, Amazon has long been a contentious topic. A lot of people boycott Amazon entirely. Most recently, it's been because they have been trying to launch this AI virtual voice thing for their audiobooks. They also released an AI dubbed anime, which was abysmal, as well as just kind of jerking people around with their exclusivity clause, though they did recently allow their Kindle Unlimited books to be shared with libraries, so that's an improvement, right? The unfortunate reality is they pay the most, as far as I've seen, and according to a lot of people, for page reads and purchases compared to their competitors. And I know a lot of people will argue money isn't the be all end all of life, but I don't blame people when it comes down to feeding your kids and keeping a roof over your head. Yeah, I would, to keep selling their ebooks, their print books through Amazon when the alternative would net them much less income. And you can get into a whole argument about whether or not they're entitled for money for the work that they aren't required to do. And I feel like it's not really fair to kind of stigmatize people for embracing a hobby that, could potentially earn them money. However, recently they've made 2 announcements that have put authors on edge. My name is Taylor Rose and welcome back to my channel where we talk about everything reading and writing. So What's on Kat's Bookshelf posted this at Amazon Kindle. This update gives me the ick. Anyone have any info on this? Is AI accessing an entire book to answer these questions? Are authors asked for consent for this? If so, and you can see she posted a screenshot from inside her Kindle app. So usually in the Kindle app, you can already search through the ebook. Obviously it's text and it lets you look stuff up in the book. But now when it popped up, it is allowing her to ask a question, and it has their little AI symbol up in the top corner and says answers are from your reading so far and don't contain spoilers, with a little link to ask the full book. And this middle part is her caption. No way this Kindle update is possible without feeding a whole book through AI, right? Because it's asking questions at the bottom, right? What motivates X character to enter the crucible despite knowing this info? And why does so-and-so suddenly attack so-and-so with something? Obviously, they're censoring this for spoiler reasons. Yeah, questionable. Mountain Hermit author did respond with some more information, saying the KDB terms contain language that permits Amazon to store, index, and use portions of your book for marketing and operational purposes, mainly in section 5.5, A, D2, and F, with some support in section 5.2.1. The wording is technology neutral, so it comfortably covers AI-driven tools used to market and operate your book on Amazon, even though it doesn't explicitly mention AI. So basically what this is saying is that, yeah, their terms of service leave a lot of leeway for this use. They continue, tech companies have been using broad-based terminology in the TOS for decades to allow them wide berth with what they do. They depend on the fact that most people don't read the terms of service, and almost no one will challenge their interpretation of the broad phrasing, resulting in courts clarifying it. General rule of thumb, if a TOS does not refer to AI specifically, or any specifically you are concerned about, you can pretty much assume it's because they want to be able to do that. So overall, that's disheartening. Not surprising though. Quinn Marie said, or maybe it's Kwin? I'm going to say Quinn. They need more training data, and this is the perfect way to get it. It's well known that easily accessed data has already been gobbled up. It's why companies like Meta are going to pirate sites to steal books to use in training AI. Zon would never ask authors for permission because nearly all would say no. They can even claim to be offering a service rather than admitting to theft. And Shalana Medford, author, says they could literally sneak AI training into the exclusivity terms of contents, terms of, is that supposed to be TOS? And no one would know. Word Leia Poetry responded, Spotify actually did that and received backlash. And Shalana responded, let's hope Amazon also receives any backlash, because we're at the point where even hinting at divesting from Amazon makes every author angry that you're personally attacking them and you're a terrible person for even suggesting any kind of boycott or change to their page reads. It's exhausting, actually. I love my fellow indies, but JFC, something has to change. And so, like, yeah, you see tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of posts from indie authors complaining about potential Kindle Unlimited boycotts. And, I mean, I don't blame them. I do think none of the other options are really better, in my opinion. So unless one shows up, I mean, I think it's kind of a pipe dream that anyone's leaving Amazon. Word responds, as an author too, I can say it's controversial and accurate that they're angry. Numbers don't lie. Most readers will not leave KU and Amazon to other platforms. Readers will have to leave first, not authors, especially disabled indie authors who publish to survive, and Zon is the only profitable market. Right now, creatives care more about AI than the consumers, making this difficult AF. Yeah, unfortunately. Jennifer Povey also posted about this new feature. So Amazon has added a new Ask This Book feature that provides AI-generated answers to questions. They claim this will not include spoilers. Publishers and authors are not permitted to opt out of this feature. It's likely to be grossly inaccurate and rife with spoilers, and it is not something we consented to. Please do not use this feature. It is, again, likely to be grossly inaccurate and, in the case of fiction, spoilery. And if nobody uses it, they may get rid of it. Celsius 233 Books says, this feature should only be unlocked after you finish the book. And Jennifer retorts, it shouldn't exist. No publisher or author agreed to it. And I agree with that. I think it's something that people should be able to opt in or opt out of. Just like, Amazon just announced it's going to be allowing authors to choose it to remove DRM from their works, which a lot of people are saying, oh my God, it's going to open us up to piracy. But you can already remove the DRM very easily from books. All it takes is one person who knows how to do that, and your book is already on the internet. But at the very least, Amazon's giving them the option whether or not they want to remove DRM. Versus this, they're not giving any option at all. Kevin Amaro Munoz responded, I think the big hurdle here is that in this case, the AI isn't being trained on the works. At least it wouldn't have to be to do what it's doing. Training has already been adjudicated as fair use in one major case. And what this one is doing is less invasive. A lawsuit might backfire and give Amazon an explicit fair use right it didn't have before. And Sansa Snark asked, isn't it though? The preview questions show that the AI will answer questions regarding the content, so it's been trained on it. And Kevin responds, not necessarily. Training is a very specific process that happens before an AI is deployed. It's what generates the parameters that the LLM uses to create text. It then responds to inputs using those parameters. But the inputs that you give when asking a question aren't the only kind that exist. The book you're asking about can also be an input, which the chatbot analyzes rapidly. So what he's talking about is you can upload a document to ChatGPT or whatever and ask it to read that, which is essentially what this AI helper would be doing. Just like if you're asking ChatGPT a question, it's Googling for you and summarizing stuff, which are a whole thing with Wikipedia being like, hey, stop using our website because you're driving our server costs up. And Kevin continues with a pretty long explanation, but we're going to go through it. It may also have been fed the data book previously, but the book's contents would not be part of the chatbot's training. If it's not responding in the style of a particular author you've asked about, it's very difficult to determine whether it's been trained on that text. Consider the following. If you're a wayward college student who uploads a crappy rough draft of a paper to ChatGPT and you ask it to make the paper better, the paper isn't training ChatGPT, it's an input. ChatGPT has already been trained. That's why it can respond. The only way it can be trained on that paper is if the developers run that text through the training routines for the LLM. And that doesn't happen automatically. The Kindle chatbot being able to speak intelligently about a book isn't evidence that it's been trained on the book, only that it's using the book as part of the user input. Could the Kindle chatbot have been trained on that book? Yes, certainly, but it didn't have to be. If Amazon wanted to be careful, they would set the chatbot's initial instructions each time it's activated so that when it's activated in the context of a particular work or author, it reads in those texts as it boots up, so to speak. Then it can answer questions. And then when it's disengaged, the user stops interacting, it flushes the database so it's not keeping around a copy of the work. I'm not saying that's what they've done, only that it's possible, and also that it may not matter much. A court has already come down on the side of LLM training as fair use. Authors only won the LibGen lawsuit because there was piracy involved as well. What all of this will hinge on is what Amazon is contractually permitted to use the books for. They and their lawyers are probably very confident that the language in the contracts they have with authors and publishers permit them to utilize the texts in this way. And he goes on to talk more about some legal stuff, which, if you weren't aware, I'm not a lawyer. So I do think maybe people are a little, Don't get me wrong. I would be very upset if I had a book published and this was announced, because at the end of the day, they haven't specified what they're doing. So until they do that, we have no idea. They could be doing the training and all that other stuff. So it's like, yeah, I would totally be very upset also. However, if it is operating as they claim, supposedly as an input that gets deleted, then I guess there's no harm really done to the book. Obviously, there's the background environmental aspect that's happening. Obviously, that's not great. I think that it is just kind of opening up the whole inattentive reader discussion again. How people just skim books. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's helpful if you have a question about something you didn't quite understand, but that's kind of also what the search feature's for in the ebook. Again, if you haven't watched my 2 videos on the Jazad Heir and the Jazad Crown, there were multiple plot holes that I went back and looked at every instance of a word, and I had to read through the context of each usage to try and figure out, did they ever actually tell me where the blood summit happened? Not until 98% of the way through the second book. Did the insignia ever mean anything? Not as far as the word insignia or the word siege of 6 or whatever was used, you know? I do think it's just kind of enabling people not to analyze things on their own. I don't know. Not that people haven't been doing this for decades already. I mean, I can't tell you how many classmates fully admitted to just reading the Spark Notes for assignments in high school and college, because I was an English writing major, you know. Obviously, there's not going to be Spark Notes for your science textbook, but so to me, it feels kind of like time traveling in a game. Like when you time travel in Animal Crossing. Once you do it, it's really hard to go back. Once you put mods in your Sims 4 game, it's hard to go back, right? Oh, life is so much easier when the sim doesn't spend an hour eating breakfast and only spends 20 minutes. That sort of thing. Of course, that's a personal thing. Maybe I'm just uniquely ill-suited to maintaining momentum in the face of convenience. I don't even know if something that can be quantified. Is being able to ask an AI assistant going to enable people who already skim books for the dialogue only? No. I don't know. That's kind of a whole different discussion. I do think at the end of the day, though, that not allowing authors to opt out of this is kind of, I don't want to say showing their true colors, since like Amazon's already waving its flag proudly. But it's disheartening. What do you think? Do you think this is actually like a helpful tool, or do you think that it is just hurting readers and writers? Obviously in different ways, but we can see this post by Madeline Burgett, author. If I pull my books from KDP and distribute to Amazon via Ingram and D2D, are they still able to scan my books with their AI chatbot? How long before another distributor brings in AI? D2D has hinted in the past that they've considered it. Ingram, who knows what they plan to do? Do I make the move to only sell directly from me? And Olivia Tilden responded, yes, the book being available in Kindle apps or on Kindle devices is what gives it access to the chatbot. I checked, and a book funnel arc I have is in the chatbot, as is my own manuscript that came straight from Vellum to the Kindle app. I think pulling out of KU to encourage readers to leave the Kindle ecosystem is the best choice. So I don't let my Kindle update, so I can't check it there, but let's look at this book I'm currently reading, We Love You, Bunny, that I have through Libby. I guess people are saying you highlight, and so on my phone, it just says Play, which is the assistive reader. This is a book that I had on Kindle Unlimited, and it does have the ask symbol. Let me look for a book. Oh, here's an arc that I haven't started. And it does not have that symbol either. So at least on my end, it looks like it's only the books directly from Kindle, the Libby book. So sent through Amazon by Libby to my Kindle. Didn't have it. And then the ARC, so sent to my Kindle via NetGalley, doesn't have it. And then the one PDF I sent myself also doesn't have it. So people are reporting mixed things. That comment is the only one I've seen that said it was from, it was also reading outside books. So books not purchased from Amazon directly. But other comments, and then my own experience right now, are reporting mixed results. So who knows? Maybe it's just rolling out slowly. Good question. Either way, I mean, a lot of people are worried that this means that they're training the AI using our like I have a book published writing, but that one chain we read indicates that that's not really what that's doing. Okay, I'm back a day later. So we have this post here by Madison Chase Books where she says, okay, Threads, time for another questions from authors to readers. With all the really about the forced AI features coming to Kindle/Amazon ebooks, we, and honestly most indie authors, are considering pulling their ebooks from Amazon and distributing direct and or through other platforms like Kobo. As a reader, what is y'all's take? Are you willing to get ebooks from other platforms to help authors avoid their material getting AI scraped for a feature no one asked for? Why or why not? Which is totally valid. Though I'm going to say I don't think most indie authors are considering this. Most of the posts I personally see on my feed are saying they can't for financial reasons. But we have Shell Cook here saying, also worth noting that Kobo has already adopted an AI feature allowing readers to get the cliff notes of their last reading session. And Tatiana Reed says, just came here to say this. I see people jumping ship left and right, and they haven't even looked into it. So we have this article here from the Kobo blog from May of this year, May 29th, 2025, titled Kobo and AI Making Reading and Publishing Even Better Together. And, you know, in the article, they talk about this feature specifically. We understand that the mention of AI can raise questions, and we want to be transparent about how we're exploring its potential to improve your reading experience. Rest assured, Kobo will never use your books to train AI models to generate new content. So at least they're saying this now. We are not interested in doing whole summaries of books. Authors provide us with title descriptions. That's what we rely on to describe the book to customers. We don't want the risk of spoilers, plot details, or anything else being revealed that would ruin the experience of a book. What we are interested in is making the reading experience even better for people who have already purchased the book and finding ways to get more books finished. So we are exploring a recap inside a book that has already been purchased. One of the problems we see is that if someone steps away from a book for a period of time, they are much less likely to finish it. Picking up where you left off, getting back into a book, is a problem in both fiction and nonfiction. As a potential solution, we will be testing this beta feature in the Kobo app. Readers can request a short, personalized recap of their recent reading activity. The amount of summary will be limited to their last reading session. It will be short and quick, viewable only by the reader, and will include references to any highlights or annotations they've made. The recaps are short, around 150 words, generated on the fly uniquely to the requesting user, and are not permanently saved. The creation of the summary does use a generative AI model, but neither the input nor the output are used as training data. You know, I guess at least they're laying it out. Felicity Heaton made a thread where she said, I've seen a lot of people recommending Kobo in the wake of Amazon using AI to answer questions or recap something in a book you're reading. Newsflash, Kobo uses generative AI to offer you a recap from your last reading session. No one is talking about that though. We don't know the extent that Amazon uses the AI. It could be the same as Kobo. We need facts from Amazon so we know exactly how it affects us authors. But where do we draw the line? How is it okay for Kobo to use AI and not Kindle? And Diana Loves to Read says, and Kobo all over everyone's threads capitalizing on this, saying to use them feels really icky. It's a no for me. And that's what kind of upset me, because a lot of people don't know that they're also using this feature. Like, they don't have the little chatbot, but they are using GenAI to summarize books, despite saying, oh, but we're not training AI with it. R.A. Moreau pointed out that Ingram sends books to Speechify, which is AI text-to-voice audiobook. I'm not 100% sure, but reading reviews on Reddit, it does seem like Speechify is actually AI generated for like a human-like voice, not like a traditional assistive reader, which is still a form of AI, but not the bad AI. You know, there is this interesting article, Why Kobo is Still Better Than Amazon Despite Its Adoption of AI Technologies, back from June when they announced the beta of the recap thing by Delilah Wan, and it's on her website. where she talks about how she asked questions on Blue Sky to Kobo directly after that announcement. And she kind of breaks down everything that she had clarified. But essentially, again, Kobo is promising not to use your stuff to train LLMs, and they are going to be testing the beta recap, but they did not answer where they got that LLM from. And she points out that that's corporate for, there's no good way to answer this. It probably means the LLM's ethically dubious. But news at 11. According to an article, Kobo said it hadn't begun testing this feature yet, but obviously this article's from like 6 months ago, so who knows what's changed. She was kind of thinking maybe they wouldn't go through with it because of all the backlash. She does think Kobo is ultimately benign, but I don't know, guys. And then she gives 7 reasons why readers should switch from Amazon to Kobo. I will say I've tried the Kobo app and it was incredibly painful to use. Supposedly, Kobo's royalties are better. I don't know how being paid by the minute versus by the page is actually better. Like, I guess if you have slow readers. She's saying that's less vulnerable to AI grifter bot farm exploitation, which, like, for the benefit of the author, fake page reads. I guess I don't know why that's one of the points. But she does talk about the royalties. I don't know. I see a lot of people saying this isn't true, arguing that, like, they get much less on Kobo for like the equivalent amount of reading. But if this information is true, then I mean, yeah, Kobo sounds better. While definitely I think it would serve Amazon to be a lot more transparent about what's going on and potentially roll back. At the end of the day, they're both billionaire corporations who don't actually care about normal people. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess Jeff Bezos is way more wealthy than the guy who owns Rakuten, but the guy who owns Rakuten is the 6th wealthiest citizen of Japan with a 5 billion net worth versus Jeff Bezos 25 billion. Like, okay. Overall, I agree that this is really disheartening and I wish that this wasn't happening, wasn't going to be a feature, but I also kind of feel inclined to believe that there's no difference. They're all doing what makes them money. And what they claim to do in a blog post really has no bearing on what they actually do and what their terms of service ultimately would allow them to do. Oh, well, do you think this is being overblown, or do you agree that this is pretty gnarly? Well, that is all for now. I will see you next time.